Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 475 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our fifth book just came out. It's called Perseverance and How to Be a Great Fraternity or Sorority Alumnus. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, while it might be uncomfortable talking about the subject of death, I'm so grateful that my parents have spoken to me about what they want in terms of their burial, the services, and other arrangements once they die. It takes all of the guesswork out of the equation for me, and I can be 100% sure that their wishes are actually met. Today, we're going to talk more about loving someone through that grief experience, and we're going to find some strategies to find hope. Dr. Debra Parker Oliver is the Ira Kodner Professor of Research and Supportive Care at Washington University. She has a Master's of Social Work and a PhD in Rural Sociology from the University of Missouri. Let's go, Mizzou. She was a hospice social worker and an administrator in 3 hospice programs for a total of more than 20 years. After getting her doctorate, she continued her commitment to the improvement of hospice care through research with more than 200 peer-reviewed articles related to palliative and hospice care. In an effort to teach and advocate for those facing cancer and terminal illness, Debbie and her husband David created a blog to share their journey with others. Thank you so much and welcome to the show, Debra.
Hi, good to see you.
It's great to see you, Debbie. I am so excited to talk to you. I know it's a topic that probably a lot of college students are not necessarily thinking about front of mind, so to speak, but I think it's an important one. And I think I want to talk a little bit more about your journey and trying to figure out how you got to this point. Now, you decided on Missouri Western State University for your undergraduate experience, and I'm dying to know, why did you decide on Missouri Western State?
Well, it was about 3 miles from my house, for one thing. I was a first-generation college student, and so any college was college as far as my family was concerned. I had a full ride scholarship, and so I was able to live at home and work and actually end up getting my books covered and all of that, and it seemed like a good path. No clue what I wanted to do. The whole idea of shopping for colleges was not on my radar. It was, you're lucky to get to go, so why would you like shop for one? And so I decided to stay local, and I never regretted it. I got a great education and didn't think I would go on to get a master's degree. That was not on the plate, but that happened, and PhD wasn't on the plate either. We don't always know these things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Listen, close to home and a free education certainly makes sense to me. And if you don't really know exactly which direction you want to go, then I mean, hey, that's probably just as good an option as any other.
That's right. Sometimes we just get lucky in life, and
yeah.
that was the case.
Yeah, well, it certainly worked out for you well. I mean, getting, your doctorate, getting your master's over at Mizzou, certainly that helps. And yeah, you never really know how things are going to play out. Heck, I didn't know that I was going to be in a doctorate program now, but here I am getting ready to defend in February. So, you just never know how things work out.
Don't underestimate Missouri Western either, because they are the training camp for the world champion Kansas City Chiefs. And so they do have a little notoriety.
That's the real reason. Now I understand it. I mean, hey, any Kansas City Chief fan knows that institution for sure. So that is wonderful. Nice little added bonus for Missouri Western.
That's right.
Now, you have your master's degree, you have your PhD, you worked as a hospice social worker and administrator in 3 hospice programs for over 20 years. Explain to our audience, why did you decide that you wanted to dedicate your life to hospice social work?
As I think is the case with most people that go into hospice, it is a special area. And my first year in college, my stepfather came down suddenly on a business trip, had a freak accident and ended up in a coma in Chicago. And my family had to make the decision to withdraw life support. So the whole thinking and philosophy hit me early at 18. And then as I got into my studies, learning about grief and bereavement, it just kind of all made sense that I get drawn into this. In my graduate program, I headed to Minnesota, transferring with my husband and still going to MU for my graduate degree, but actually living in Minnesota. That was kind of interesting. But they had a volunteer hospice there that needed a director. So I was doing my internship and stepped into that role and learned on the ground how to do hospice right there in that very small program as a volunteer. And then I caught the bug and haven't looked back since.
That's wonderful. I mean, that really is important work, and really, really grateful that you're willing to do it for as long a period of time. Also, I think that's just really great. Talk about your husband, David. Talk about how he told all of the people that he loved that he had a terminal cancer illness.
Yeah, I mean, wow, he was very healthy, amazing. He was a marathon runner and a cyclist. And all of a sudden one day he felt and he had a lump when he was shaving in his neck. And he's like, well, that's kind of odd. So we were in the School of Medicine. We were both professors at MU School of Medicine at the time. And he told his very best friend, our family doctor, you know, hey, I've got this. And it was startling, the look on his friend's face, as it was when I said, I don't understand what the big deal is. It's just a lump. It's probably a swollen lymph node or something. No, actually, that's a big deal if you get a lump in your neck right there. And it was nasopharyngeal cancer. And so first you got to tell your family, which was difficult. And then all of the people you work with, how do you do that? So we had just gotten a video camera and decided we would do a video because we were going to miss that faculty meeting in our department. So we created a little video and we sent it to our faculty, and our friend played that at that faculty meeting, and it was so well received, and we got so much love. And our son actually said at the time, you know, this sets a really great example for people. This could go viral. You should do these videos along the way. And that's what made us decide to do it. We did 26 of them along the way. They were very therapeutic. They were very well received, and our students absolutely loved them.
So, I mean, what do you think? Tell us more. I mean, what do you think about it? What was it about the production, about the content that you think resonated with everyone who watched it?
You know, part of it was David's personality. He's a very positive person. He was very beloved because of that, and he kind of took a joke to everything. So we kept a theme around the Mizzou Tigers, and always wore black and gold. I did it, I mean, very amateur editing. It was just me. I didn't know how to do that. I had to learn how to do all that, upload to YouTube and do a website and do all the things that we did. But it gave us a focus and a purpose and helped us find meaning in the process, and challenged us all along the way when things could be pretty negative. We'd have very negative experience with the healthcare system, or he'd get really sick, or we'd get really down. And it made us focus on what's the message in this that's beneficial for people, especially for students who are going to go into the health professions. What can we teach them about that? And that was very helpful to us. And I thought about continuing that after he passed and doing it through grief, but honestly, that was too hard for me to do it by myself afterwards. And so I kind of stopped there. Never had an intention to write a book to share it, but that's how I ended up sharing the grieving experience when I was ready. It took me about 3 years.
Tell our audience, what is the right way to love somebody through that grief experience, knowing that the end is coming?
You know, your natural instinct as a parent, grandparent, is to protect your family. And at first we're like, well, what do we tell the kids?
Mm.
And maybe we don't tell them everything, and you shelter. And then I made the phone call to the oldest son first, and he's an attorney, and it's like, we're not gonna be able to hide this from these very bright children who we've been very honest with throughout their lives. And so we just embraced everyone as a family, and we went through this as a family, united, always focusing on where's the hope, not in cure, but where's the hope that we can have, for however much time we can have a quality experience. So we did a lot of traveling. We had planned to go to Europe. We went ahead and we planned and we went to Europe and we did those things. We were doubling down on our time together. We took pictures that we probably wouldn't have taken otherwise. And then at the end, we kind of had a plan. Here's what how everybody needs to handle it, and how they want and they choose to handle it. And we could do that because it was open and honest, and because David was open and honest about it. And it was okay to cry. There were times when we all cried together, and there were a lot of times when we all celebrated. And we had the whole family in after the final PET scan, after his first chemotherapy round, to celebrate. That was special. Those left incredible memories. It's a lot different than trying to go hide and focusing all of our energy on going to the clinic and all the side effects and all of those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. How do you find hope through all of this?
I think the first thing is that you really got to understand what it is that you want. What is hope to you? Everybody talks about, well, there's no hope on a terminal diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Well, that is only if you define hope as cure. We chose not to define hope as cure. What did we want? We wanted good quality time. David kept talking about, I want a good death. Well, what does that look like? And we kept pushing and pushing. What does that mean to you? What does that mean? So that communication about that was really, really critical. And it was not always comfortable. It wasn't always comfortable for the kids either. They were all older. Even our grandkids who were in high school got into these conversations. It was important to realize that hope wasn't one thing. It's a moving target. We would hope 6 months at a time, hope that we would still be able to do our trip to Europe, hope that we would, be able to accomplish some of our bucket list items. He wanted to go to the Arctic Circle, hope that we'd do that and that we'd have a good time and he'd stay well. And at the very end, he came up with this acronym with the word hope about what hope was to him. And that was to die at home, surrounded by others, pain-free, and excited until the very end. And so that became our marching orders. And that was our hope, was that he would accomplish his hope. But we knew what it was, and we knew what it wasn't. It wasn't about staying in hospitals and getting pumped full of poisons and prolonging misery. That was never what it was about. Comfort always first, and pain management foremost in his mind.
Wow,
and people can do that, but you got to really think about things you never think about.
Right. You got to talk about that in advance. And you were able to do that and really understand what hope looked like for him. And it might look different for different people, right? So I think it's important to have those conversations. That's the only way that you're really going to know with 100% certainty. But you have to talk about it. And I know it's uncomfortable, but you're all the better because of it. And, and working with doctors right now is really difficult because they're not always listening to their patients. You almost have to be the biggest advocate for yourself because there's not a lot of other people that are looking out for you other than you. So how do you get the doctors to listen to you?
And we taught in a medical school, so we taught doctors before they were doctors, and I still do. I work a lot with them, and you learn quickly. I mean, you're teaching a young kid how to do everything a doctor needs to do in 15 minutes. Their allotted visit time is 15 minutes. And so how are you going to get their attention in 15 minutes? Because I know all the things they got to do, and they're doing it in front of a computer. They're having to document at the same time. And So one of the very first things that is helpful is you go in and say, here's my goal for today. Because otherwise they're going to do their goal. I'm having pain. I was throwing up last night. I need to feel better because I've got this trip in mind. In one sentence, what is your goal for your visit? Because then it becomes at the top of their list for their 15 minutes. The other thing to realize is that doctors think in bullets. And so pretend it's a PowerPoint slide. Here are my symptoms, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not, oh, I did this. And I mean, you could go into a big narrative. You only got 15 minutes. So help him think in bullets, give them the bullets and quantify as much as you can. I learned that when we had to quantify his pain. So how much pain are you in? Well, you know, the normal thing is you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst pain ever and 1 being no pain at all. So you can do that with any of your symptoms. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I can't breathe. My asthma is acting up, doc. I'm at about a 7, and I really would rather be like at a 2. And so what can my goal today is you to help me figure out how we're going to get there. Going in prepared, that all requires you be prepared. You know what bullets you're going to say, you know what your goal is, and you know what you want. And then take notes, because 15 minutes goes by so fast. I would go with my mom, just passed in March, and she had dementia. And I would go into the doctor with her dementia, and they would cover so much information. And here I am, I've got a little bit of medical training and a PhD, and I'm taking notes like crazy, because as soon as I walked out of there, I'm going to forget what was said and forget all the things that we need to do and that are a part of that. If you do those things, you're going to shock your doc, because they're not used to people being prepared, and your visit's going to go quick and smooth, and you're going to get what you want.
Nice. Great advice. Really, really good stuff. Now, you know, a lot of our college students, they really don't want to think about death at all. They feel like it's, you know, so far removed from what they want to do. They only want to talk about what's going on tonight. Where's the party at? So, you know, what is your advice to college students who prefer not to think about death and dying, or even have any conversations about it?
As soon as you try to ignore it, it's going to slap you in the face. Someone you care about is going to die. And it very well may be your roommate or your classmate, because death has no regard for age. More older people die, but it has no regard for age. It has no regard for what your relationship is. You don't have the choice. And you're going to be better prepared if you know about it, as painful as it might be. Death and taxes, they happen to everybody. Don't like thinking about my taxes, don't like paying my taxes, but by golly, if it doesn't come out every week and I don't have some knowledge about it, come April 15th, I'm in big trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And this is really no difference. If you haven't experienced a death, you will at some point. Not necessarily yours, but somebody that you care about.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. You're absolutely right. Whether I want to or not, April 15th is coming. So
That's right.
I better start, you know, getting ready for it and getting prepared for it, so that way I'm not in a bad situation. Really, really great way to think about it. And, you know, you received the Project Death in America Community Education Award from the American Academy of Hospice, you know, and that was 2 weeks before David passed away. What was that like for you and David?
That was, I mean, it was an amazing honor, and that was all in recognition of the YouTube videos that we had done. But he was very sick when we got that word, and he was so excited and so thrilled. One of the benefits we had, because he didn't do a lot of chemotherapy and refused it all towards the end, is that he didn't have as many side effects as some people. So he was 2 weeks before he died, he was still perfectly coherent and able to pretty much take care of himself, although I wasn't about to leave him alone because he could fall, needed a little bit of help with his personal care. And I'm like, I can't go. I can't. And I wanted to be there when he died. And I talked to the hospice nurse, and she goes, there's no guarantees. There, we know that it's getting closer. We know the signs. We can tell that. I've done a lot of work on prognosing death.
Mhm.
And so I knew what those signs were. And he said, you have got to go. And I swear I won't die. I said, you cannot swear you won't die. He says, oh, yes, I can. And you go, and then you have somebody bring me in so that I can watch and I can be a part of this. And so, okay, I went ahead and I did. My son-in-law, who is a nurse, stayed with him during that time. And I'm like, a quick trip. I had to go from Kansas City to Boston and back. And so I was there, and it was very powerful. And we played a little clip of him also accepting the award so that he could be a part of it, and sent him pictures. And on my way home, he's texting me all the time. Where are you? How close are you? I need you to be here. So on. So it was an incredibly emotional and very stressful experience, but wonderful that he got to be a part of it. And it was a mountaintop experience in many ways.
Wow. I can't even imagine what that experience was like from so many different angles.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, that's deep. All right. So, listen, I appreciate that you shared all of this with us because, like you said, I mean, we're all going to experience it at some point. So to be prepared for it, I think is really the message that you're trying to leave. And so I think all of that's really good. Now, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. And I know that in Missouri, in the neighborhoods of Mizzou, there are some really, really great restaurants. And so I'm wondering, the next time I'm in Missouri, where should I be going to get a great bite to eat?
Hey, if you're in Kansas City, you go to Q's 31 Barbecue. Of course, we have more barbecue than anyone in the world, and all of it's good. And the little hole in the wall over here is good. And we have some world famous Arthur Bryant's and all of that. But my very favorite is called Q's 31. Amazing. And you literally can't go probably 2 miles without finding some kind of barbecue in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it, and as are some of my fraternity brothers. We want to take a trip to go watch a baseball game in Kansas City, and so Q's 31 sounds like the place that we're going to end up. And
we actually have a pretty decent baseball team this year, so that's good too.
That's good too. We can watch some good quality baseball. So yeah, it's a twofer for us. Good baseball and great barbecue. So I'm excited about it. I live in Nashville, so I know something about barbecue.
Oh yeah, the second best.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to try the Kansas City version and see what I think. So I'm excited for it. I will definitely check it out. I'll let you know what I think once I get back.
Great.
So that's really good. Now, if our college students, if they want to pick up your book, it's called Legacies from the Living Room, or maybe they just want to connect with you to get advice on their own journey, where should they go to connect with you?
Oliver D at wustl.edu. And go to Washington University website. You can look me up. My email's on there. Yes, I'm at Washington University in St. Louis. I live in Kansas City and I work at Mizzou. So yeah, I'm all over this state, but I love getting emails from students. There are many college classes that assign our book and our video for lessons on death and dying. And when I get those notes, I cherish them. I save them all. So never hesitate. If you've got a family member that has gotten a serious illness, or you find yourself in that and you have questions, please. I do have hints, I do have experience, and I'm happy to share them.
That's fantastic. All right, you got Debbie's email address, and go and pick up her book. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon. It's called Legacies from the Living Room. And I think it's fantastic that you're offering all these great resources, Debbie. So thank you so much for sharing all this great information with us today.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Yes, you too. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Debbie, I want you to like this and I want you to share this with somebody who needs this information in their life today. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much. Bye for now.